Hello, living like a boss here. My name's Milt, and I've been out here working on this old Clark forklift again, and did a few things on it. Checked out the alternator, changed out some wiring, got that all figured out, put in a different battery, and removed the tank and freed up one of the valves there on the engine. So let's just get right into it. I took this alternator off the Clark yesterday. I've never seen anything quite so grungy and dirty. Normally an alternator is dirty, but this is just caked on. On the back, it is so plugged up. These cooling fins for the diodes in there are just totally plugged up, so either this is cooked, the diodes, or where the brushes are held and that regulator part is maybe cooked, so it just does not work. Even the dirt is such a buildup on the stator here. Never seen anything quite so dirty, but there's a reason for that, and we'll just go out into the shop and we will cover that. Well, late yesterday afternoon I put this particular alternator in place of this particular alternator. You can see the difference between cleanliness. This is so filthy. This is still as old, but it's clean. It was in a tractor or some other piece of equipment. I'm not sure if it even works yet, but I'm going to wire it in there and try it out. I know this one doesn't work. Little bit of information as to how this would have gotten so dirty. This is mounted on the engine properly, hanging off the side. This will be turning the proper way. I guess it's locked up a little bit, but be turning the proper way so as it's pulling air through this end and expelling it out that way, and that's how it cools itself, is by pulling air that way. Even though normally this would be a suck fan blowing radiator hot air this way against the alternator, this is turning in such a way that it pulls the air from the back. And the reason for it pulling it from the back is any dirt and debris is going to go straight forward because it's heavier than air, and it just pulls the air through, so it's clean air. But in this situation, the fan is a push fan, so it's pushing all the air that way. None of this air coming in there is going to be clean, and whatever has gone on there, if they had a blown hose at one time or a leaking whatever, it just makes it dirty, hangs up a bunch of dirt, and that's why we get all this passages here just plugged solid. So I really believe that this thing is just overheated. It burnt its internals out. And so that's how a alternator works for cooling and to keep the air clean. But this is the worst possible scenario. It's in a push fan situation, facing backwards. All the dirty air just goes right through that. It's even pulling it hard through there. So it's a matter of time, and it lasted quite a while, I guess, but that's just why that is so dirty, is because of the way it was mounted. Anyway, moving on, we got this alternator in there. It's bolted right up to the brackets and everything, pretty good. But now I've got a situation with electrical. I made some alterations up at the dash there yesterday because I'm not running an ammeter, I'm running a voltmeter, which that's all figured out up there. But now we're working at the wiring here, and I'll show you what we got going on here. This is a number 10 gauge wire, and it's hot wire. It comes off the positive side of the battery. But the way this machine is wired up, of course, it goes from red tied into blue over here, goes up into the dash, back around, comes back down, and takes off of this point here. And I'm assuming this yellow wire is the main wire that goes up there, change the blue, comes back, they changed it to red because it's not long enough, whatever. And then that's what we're left with. Just a confabulation of colors and way too much wire to do the same process, I guess. But anyway, that's what they got done. So this, I believe, is correct so far. I'm going to put a meter on it, make sure I got battery power here. And then from there, they had this here particular set of wiring. This is the exciter wire, and then this here was supposed to go on the number 2 post of these alternators, but I'm just going to put a jumper from here to there. This should actually come from the keyed switch, like the ignition switch, but we're just going to jump it from there to there, here to there. This one here is going to take a ground cable. I'm just going to build myself a cable that goes from here down to whatever these mounting bolts down here to the block, so I get a good ground. And then the number 1 post here will be the exciter wire, which again comes off the keyed side of the switch. So we'll get all that built up, and then hopefully that's going to light up the panel properly. But I'm not too sure. We're going to start this up and see if it'll generate. I'm not too sure on the what the condition of this here alternator is. I don't know if it works or not. I just took it off a machine or a vehicle I bought at one time, never ran it. It just pulled off all the parts and scrapped the vehicle or whatever. But anyway, we'll get back to you in a bit. Here it is. Here it is, January 1 of 2023, and we're still out here kind of playing around with this old forklift there. It's just entertainment value. Every time I do something, it runs a little bit better. What I've done here is I got this alternator here mounted in. Got the new, well, they're not new, but reorganized wiring. You know, the main power line, the jumper over into the blade connector here, plus the exciter line going back. And what I've done is I don't have a diode or LED light or what do you call it, resistor line, like the exciter line. So what I did was I just put an interrupt switch here. When I got it started and it's running, I just flipped the interrupt switch off, shuts the power off going to it and from it. So it's all self-excited and it's running. And then my new gauge up there on the dash, the new gauge on the dash is working. We'll go around the other side there and take a look at it. But I still have a miss in this engine, and right here you can see I got the plug took out. Maybe we should go to the other side, but I just got a socket extension in the spark plug hole sitting on top of the exhaust valve. The exhaust valve is stuck. So what I'm going to do is I just roll the motor over with the starter, just quarter turn or whatever it is, and tap the exhaust valve down. I got some oil poured in there, just tapping it down, and I think I pretty much got it all freed up now. It seems to turn right around, and I don't really have to put it down. I can almost follow the valve, so I think she's almost good to go. I did go into the distributor and opened up took the cap off the rotor and redid the point settings, and then I adjusted the initial timing on the distributor here. I just opened this clamp up here again and rolled it over another few degrees. Seems to be running pretty good. I'll show you what I got going on the other side here. What we going on here, as I was trying to point out from the other side, is the spark plug is out of the hole here. And I just got this extension, and I turn the engine over and tap it, and we're pretty much freed up. We're going to put that spark plug back in there, and hopefully this thing's going to run quite a bit better. I just stuck the old exhaust pipe back on for now because it was without a pipe, it just throwing the exhaust right down to that axle down there. I couldn't get the new elbows, etc., exhaust parts, being it's New Year's Eve and all that kind of stuff, and everything's closed for the holidays, so I'll get it in the new year first next week, and I'll just put some elbows in there and have that exhaust diverted toward the back and to the ground. I'm not going to bother putting a muffler on it. It's we're out here in the middle of nowhere, so then it's not that loud. Okay, that spark plug is back in there. Plug wire on. So we're going to stand back here and we'll see what happens. We'll try starting her up and seeing how smooth this thing is. As you can see, when you turn it on, the voltmeter goes up to just past the 12. We'll just start her up. And right now it's still at the 12, but I got my interrupt switch. I just turned it on. Now it's going up to about 13, 13 and a half. And it'll steadily increase for a bit. We'll rev her up, and it'll once it gets going, it's going to go right up into the red, which is not what we want. But at an idle, it's going to come down to that 13 and a half. So what I do is I just shut my interrupt switch off, which I did right there, and it goes up to the 13 and a half. So there's no current going to the exciter side. And that's what we got. So the old Clark, that's just how we're going to run it, unless I happen to get a proper resistor, like a exciter line. Turn the interrupt switch back on. Oh, now she's going to die. So at least it is charging. That's all a guy needs. I want to use this once, twice a year or something or other. Maybe, who knows? After I find out how handy it is to pick stuff up off the ground, might be used more than that. That's why it's kind of important to have a sort of a working machine. Here, I'm going to shut this exciter back off. There, it goes back down to the 13 and a half. So it's charging. And without this interrupt switch, I can't shut it off with the ignition switch here. I have to actually shut this exciter switch off. So that's the problem. I this is the toggle switch right here beside the choke on my exciter line, little interrupt switch. Over on this side, this is off and this is on, so it's exciting right now. So if I go and try to shut the machine off with the little, it keeps running. So I got to go over here and just shut this off. Yeah. Someday I will get a resistor, I guess, or a diode or something other that's going to take care of that. But for now, it's going to run just fine for all our intents and purposes. Now we're going to start working on our gas tank. I'm going to pull that gas tank out of from underneath in the middle there. I'm going to get the cutting torch out. We're going to cut that cross member free and drop the tank out. I did move it out of its parking area over there, moved it over here, and just to make sure I got some room, because I'm going to use the little John Deere. I'm going to tie onto the mast up there and just back up with the John Deere and pull it over on its side, put some blocking underneath the wheels. I'm not going to pull it right over, just kind of pull it up so the wheels are off the ground about a foot, and block her up and cut that tank out of there. There, the hood's on her. She actually looks pretty smart. Well, way smarter than when I got it. And yeah, one thing at a time, make not a bad machine out of it. Just a little patience and ingenuity and know-how, and you can make these old girls come back to life. Really get a kick out of it. Okay, looking down in that hole, that tank is out of there. Boy, that was a little bit of a wrestling match. I cut that cross piece out of there. My welding cutting skills leave much to be desired, but we got it out of there. And I didn't pull the machine over with the little tractor. I just managed to create enough room, jacking it up by the mast with the floor jack. It's not that big a machine, so it's up there, not a foot, but it's up high enough. And here's our treasure that we were getting out of there. It does have a fuel sending unit down there. It's pretty darn dirty. Going to scrape it all up, but there's the fuel sending unit down there, and it's rattling inside, so it's disconnected, rotted away. Going to clean her right up, plug the fill line up here, and then pressurize it once it's cleaned and see what we got for a leak, and then we'll trim her up. I don't know if I'll actually put that tank back in there. It's such a tight fit, but it came out, so I can only guess it's going to go back in. So anyway, we got her out of there. I think we're going to call her quits for the day. I'm going to put the tools away, and then yeah, we'll just call her a day. Well, a note, or a point to note, that side tank is still on there, still functional, so I can still operate the machine. Okay, we will catch up to you later when we have more updates.